Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Hall Brown, and here's what's happening in LA this week. Dolores Huerta, the famous labor leader and civil rights activist, attended the grand opening of the supportive apartments that carry her name. Mayor Bass, Councilmember Price, and some of the project partners who attended talked about the benefits of providing housing and essential services to the future residents.
Well, we're here at the grand opening of the Dolores Huerta Apartments. It's a supportive housing project here in South LA, in the 9th District, right here on Figueroa. It's a beautiful partnership, public-private partnership, complete with kitchens and other amenities. And there'll be services here, most importantly. There'll be actual services to assist the residents in their transition. So we're just very pleased about this project. It's an important model for what can happen in other parts of the city.
Well, the fact that it's named after me, it makes me feel very proud. And my foundation, Dolores Huerta Foundation, we do a lot of work with homeless people also. And so to know that this is really happening, because I know all of us know that this is such a great need.
Well, it's very important for there to be public sector and private sector collaboration. It really requires collective action to produce community assets like this apartment. And for us at Kite Permanente, this is part of our health mission. You know, we provide health care and health coverage to millions of people, but ultimately what makes people healthy is healthy communities, and that includes safe, quality housing.
Housing is a big issue in our community, and of course, homeless housing is a major issue. So we're pleased that the mayor was here today to acknowledge the importance. It underscores her commitment to making sure that folks are taken off the streets and are providing housing. So we're proud of the collaboration, proud of the opportunity to serve a population in need and to do it in a quick way.
Well, I would just like to say to everybody out there, whatever we can do to help the unhoused, that we need to do that. I think all of us can do a little bit on our part. You know, again, when we see a homeless person, we feel very sad, and we feel, what can I do? But when we see that this is happening, we know, yeah, it can be done. Sí se puede.
Denim Day, which was first celebrated in 1999, is one of the most visible campaigns for sexual violence prevention and education. As a social response by Peace Over Violence to an Italian Supreme Court case dismissal, every year it gathers Los Angeles city leaders, community representatives, and survivors in an effort to erase violence altogether. Take a look.
Today we're here at City Hall standing in solidarity with women here in Los Angeles and around the world to say that there is no excuse for sexual assault on women.
For the past 24 years, Peace Over Violence has been holding this rally in an effort to support survivors during Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. We created the Denim Day campaign in response to an Italian Supreme Court hearing where a young woman was sexually assaulted by her driver's instructor. Case went to court, but then it was overturned when the judge on the case stated that the survivor must have consented to that assault because she was wearing tight jeans.
The first Denim Day was here in Los Angeles in 1999, the year of the now infamous Italian court case. Over the years, it has grown to reach millions of individuals worldwide, every year more and more, and is now the longest-running sexual violence prevention education campaign ever.
I'm a survivor of harm and violence. And, you know, I spoke about it during the campaign, but I think it's important to keep talking about it because it's one of the reasons why I do the work the way that I do, in trying to prevent harm and violence and not just reacting to harm and violence.
I, too, am a survivor. I've never really spoken publicly about it, but I think it's important to make sure that we are lifting this issue up and that we're using all the tools that this incredible city and all of the power that it has available to us to address this issue head on.
I too, my sister too, my cousins too, and many of you are survivors. And that's the whole point, we're survivors. And we want to thank Patty for having an outlet, for having somewhere to go when we have trauma.
Sexual violence can take many forms, from physical assault to harassment. It can occur in any setting, and it does, whether at home, at work, in schools, on our streets and sidewalks. Sexual violence survivors are not a faceless group of people. As we've seen today, they're our colleagues, They're your sisters, they're your parents, your aunts, your brothers, your friends, yourself. No one is immune.
We all will be strong with everybody all around. We will hold up and we will stand up and we will not fall because we got justice and we're going to continue to fight. And we're going to take violence off the street.
With high interest rates and home prices, few people in Los Angeles are able to build equity. With the hopes of helping our veterans in need, a new affordable housing project in North Hollywood is underway, and Council President Paul Krikorian recently celebrated its groundbreaking. Check it out.
Well, we're at a huge milestone right now, the groundbreaking of a project to develop 12 new units of housing that will be owned by low-income veterans who will contribute their own sweat equity into helping to build these homes. So it's really a phenomenal moment where we're going to bring a whole new neighborhood to North Hollywood. I'm really excited that we're finding this way to show thanks to the people who have served our country.
It's an opportunity for veterans at the lower income levels to purchase a home at an affordable rate and to grow some equity so they can move up and out into the middle class and buy a home at market rate.
CalVet is the state organization that serves California's 1.6 million veterans and their families. We connect veterans with their community-based system of care. We also administer a number of state benefits that veterans have earned through their military service. Builds like this are important because they create community for veterans and their families. And the reason that's important is when someone serves in the military, they're not part of an individual office. They're part of a unit. So it's great for us to be able to build communities around veterans and for them to feel engaged with people who've had military service. It's a shared experience, and to ensure that they're getting something again, as they did in the military, that allowed them to work in that kind of family unit and structure.
Very often, the new construction that we see going on around Los Angeles as we're trying to meet our housing needs are market rate housing, built for a profit. This neighborhood, the entire neighborhood, will be built at a loss. So this is really a way to bring wealth to the community, to bring wealth to these families that will be generational. So it really lifts up the neighborhood, it lifts up these veterans' families, and in doing so, it really lifts up our entire city. So I hope others will copy this model, to be sure.
Stick around to hear more about other housing projects, like the Hollywood Community Plan. The families and children of Boyle Heights will be extra happy with this sunny weather because they can now enjoy the recently upgraded Ramon Garcia playground. Kids of all abilities can come and play in physically and mentally stimulating ways while they make new friends in their neighborhood.
We just opened a beautiful new playground at Ramon Garcia Park in Boyle Heights, a very integrated part of this community, a center of the community. The playground really needed to be upgraded. It was probably 20 years old. And even though kids played on it all the time, the playgrounds have evolved a lot in that period of time, and there's a lot of new equipment that, one, appeals to kids and is more fun for kids, but it also helps them developmentally and intellectually, and so this is it.
I've always been in the mindset that our kids deserve to have beautiful things too in these type of neighborhoods, because that tells the kids that they matter, because at the end of the day, our kids are our future.
This playground is also fully ADA accessible, so kids of any ability can play here. We added seating too, so that the parents can sit and watch them, have fun. It's brand new, it's beautiful, it's a big improvement on the park itself.
the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach have signed a decarbonization memorandum. Housing plans in downtown LA and Hollywood head to the LA City Council. And the LA Fire Department is holding a fundraiser for muscular dystrophy. These stories up next on City Beat.
The Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore and the ports of LA and Long Beach signed a memorandum on the decarbonization of the maritime industry. C40, a network of mayors of major cities addressing the climate crisis, is providing support to the cities, ports, and their corridor partners. These lead hub ports are vital to the Trans-Pacific shipping lane and serve as key stakeholders in the maritime sector's green transition. The Green and Shipping Corridor aims to support the transition to low and zero-emission fuels by ships along this route. For more info on the Green and Digital Shipping Corridor and the Port of LA, go to portoflosangeles.org. The Planning and Land Use Committee has unanimously approved 2 long-range community updates, DTLA 2040 and the Hollywood Community Plan. The Hollywood Plan establishes an affordable housing incentive program encouraging the production of mixed income and 100% affordable housing units. This plan also establishes a review process for the rehabilitation of eligible historic resources and sets stronger zoning regulations. The DTLA 2040 plan is expected to create 100,000 new housing units, attract 100,000 more work opportunities, and draw 175,000 new residents through 2040. This plan is tailored to be responsive to affordable housing market needs and will increase transparency in government decision-making. Both items will now move to the full City Council, which you can follow at lacity.gov/government. The Los Angeles Fire Department is holding their annual Fill the Boot fundraiser to benefit the Muscular Dystrophy Association, MDA. The event, which has been held since 1954, includes the long-standing tradition of firefighters hitting the streets to collect donations. Fire Chief Kristen M. Crowley joined in on the kickoff with the support of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles Local 112. To date, the nearly 7-decade partnership has raised more than $679 million with involvement from over 300,000 firefighters nationwide. The money raised will provide MDA funding for research, therapy, education, advocacy, and support of neuromuscular diseases. For more info, visit lafd.org.
Los Angeles is a diverse and inclusive city that is working to correct its errors from the past. The meeting of the Los Angeles Reparations Advisory Commission was a way to acknowledge the wrongdoings and the pain that was caused to African American communities in LA, and an opportunity to move forward.
We're at the African American Museum right here in the heart of the 9th District in Exposition Park. And this is a hearing by the Ad Hoc Reparations Committee, LA Reparations Committee. This is continuing a very important discussion that they've been having about the possibility of providing reparations for Los Angelenos. This is the first live hearing. They've had several virtual meetings, and so this is exciting to be here in person, folks expressing themselves and sharing their thoughts.
Reparations are important for the city of Los Angeles because the charter was founded in 1925, and there was a study done in the 20s about government and whether it was police department, city of LA, the number of Ku Klux Klan members at the founding of this city was absolutely astounding. And so the city itself has harms that it has been historically responsible for, and I'm so happy to be here and to be part of the process to repair some of the harms that were done.
LA Civil Rights, we support all communities, but we want to be intentional to make sure that the African American community feels supported as they have a push for reparations. So we want to be very intentional to say that hate has no home in Los Angeles and that LA is for everyone, and that LA will allow people to thrive regardless of the color of their skin.
Well, I think it just helps the hearing come alive, if you will, and it gives people in touch with each other. They can hear, see their fellow citizens, build on that energy. But I think it's just an important process. It's that we're doing this in public, transparently, full disclosure, and a chance for everyone to participate.
We know that this is a tough and difficult conversation, but the first thing is for the community to know that we see them. We know the pain, we know and acknowledge that a wrong has been done for years and years and years, and the injustices aren't just slavery, but redlining or segregated schools. And some of the things, to be honest, government has participated in. And so we want to be intentional as a city to say we want to right the wrongs of the past and make sure that everyone can thrive in the City of Angels.
The housing landscape in Los Angeles has changed a lot since 1988. To reflect the current needs and provide guidelines for new housing developments, the LA City Council approved an update of the Hollywood Community Plan, which Council member Hugo Soto Martinez recently discussed with Channel 35.
So the Hollywood Community Plan is essentially the entire sort of base of what gets built in the city, how it gets built, and what kind of housing we get built. And so it's a massive geographical area in the city of Los Angeles, and it basically controls all our zoning changes. The last time it was updated was in 1988. And so, as you can imagine, the laws of that time are very different than it is now. The kind of housing we needed back then is very different. Adaptive reuse is basically like taking an old building that maybe is an office space or a rundown hotel and converting that into housing. It's cheaper, it's faster to do, and it helps us prioritize the needs that we want. So if we really need some housing, maybe we can take an old office space and convert it into the housing that we need. So when we think of Hollywood, you think of the Walk of Fame, Hollywood, and the Oscars. But the Hollywood Community Plan is much bigger than that area. And in particular, East Hollywood, which is a quickly gentrifying neighborhood. The average median income of a household is less than $50,000 a year. And right now, the new apartments that are being built are upwards of $3,000. And so one thing we're asking for in this plan is to make sure that there's an emphasis on building affordable housing, that we extend the covenants from 55 years to 99 years, and that we start looking at social housing. I think we're really going to move the city forward in many of the different issues that are tied to housing and zoning and land use. It was important to make sure we pass this plan and fight for the other protections that we're missing. And so I'm very proud that we did that.
In previous shows, we've talked about the Department of Aging's commitment to provide health and lifestyle improvement services for our seniors. This week, we show their efforts in preventing older adults from falling prey to scams and becoming victims of fraud by teaching them how to know if they're being targeted.
Today we're out here to provide a presentation on scam prevention. So we're going to talk a little bit about different tactics that scammers use. In particular for older adults, it's definitely a very vulnerable population that they're often targeted. So we're going to talk about how to prevent it, what are some red flags, things to keep an eye out for. One of the big ones is an IRS scam. They'll get a call from the IRS saying that they owe back taxes or they owe certain dues and fees asking to be sent immediately. So that's usually a big tactic for a lot of people. There's also like the grandparent scam, where they'll receive a call from a grandson or, a relative saying, I had an emergency, I need some assistance, I need you to send me money. This one in particular is big because they'll try and often say, don't tell my mom, don't tell my dad. There's a lot of different scams. They can come in a lot of different shapes and forms over the mail, text message, calls. It all comes down to verification. If you're receiving an unknown number, unknown text, don't respond, don't reply, verify. Reach out to family members, contact your bank directly instead of following these links. Our Department of Aging does have a website where they can reach us directly online. So if anybody in the community wants to receive a presentation, they can definitely reach us there. They can also call our department directly at 213-482-7252. They can contact us over the phone.
The Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum gathered the grant recipients of the Reimagined South Los Angeles program. Spearheaded by Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson, these grants will help organizations serving the community in areas like mental health, public transport, and youth opportunity, amongst others.
We're at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum Sky Deck. We're celebrating folks who won grants from the Reimagine South Los Angeles program. Reimagining public safety, providing opportunities for youth, doing work around mental health, work around domestic violence, and a whole bunch of other issues that people in our neighborhood have the capacity to work on and solve.
2 years ago, Councilman Harris Dawson embarked on this opportunity to use the Reimagine LA funds to incentivize community-based organizations. And he wanted to make certain that the organizations didn't just get money, but that they were better equipped to get resources from private funding as well as government.
During the event today, we wanted to bring everybody together to know that they're not working alone, one. Two, we want to show the city, hey, here's how we use the resources, and here's the benefit to the entire city of Los Angeles.
The grant given by CD8 has benefited our organization by allowing us to continue the services that we provide at Butterflies Haven. So at Butterflies Haven, we currently house current and former foster youth, women that have been impacted by the foster care system, whether they have children or they don't have children. We bring in just all the necessities that's needed to be able for the women to get to the next stage in life and be able to soar and just feel empowered, feel welcome, feel loved. We've been able to keep going with our operational services to be able to build out our operations for that. It's tremendously helped in numerous ways.
Grants are used to support the work that organizations do, and that's very different than most nonprofits try to get contracts to do work for the city or the council district. But this is a council member and his staff saying, we want to support the existing work, and we know that our community thrives and stands on the backs of nonprofit organizations. And if we're ever going to solve homelessness and domestic violence and interpersonal violence and have more opportunities for young people and seniors, we need our nonprofits. And so we've brought them together in this program.
To learn more about this and other programs in CD8, visit councildistrict8.lacity.org. In this week's feature story, I sit down with the executive director of the People Concern, John Maceri. We discuss the homelessness crisis in Los Angeles, and with a first-hand experience of the situation, he talks about what their main focus is and what can and should be done to improve it. Let's hear this story.
Together, we can end homelessness, here, once and for all.
I'm delighted to be joined by the Executive Director of the People Concern, John Maceri. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
You've seen a lot.
Yes. Yeah, it's the work has certainly changed. I mean, we've seen, of course, the increase in street homelessness. We've seen the rise in, the opioid epidemic, fentanyl, now the challenges for the level of trauma of the people that we're serving has certainly increased. We're seeing people with much more serious mental illness. We're seeing people with much more chronic health conditions.
What is happening to not stop the tide, stem it somewhat?
I think there are a few things that we could improve upon. One is, finding ways to create more permanent housing stock that doesn't just rely on building from the ground up. I think sometimes in the policy conversations, we get into this either or. Either we do this or we do that. And our advocacy is you need to do both. You need to do all of those things because you want to lift the capacity of the entire system. So we do that through master leasing. We do have private landlords and developers who are willing to make units available. The greatest tool we have is the ability to build a trusting relationship. Foundational is really building that trust and also being skilled enough to understand someone's acuity. And the higher the acuity, the higher up on the list you go for access to being matched to housing. In a perfect world, if we had adequate housing resources, that wouldn't be as much of an issue. But with limited resources, it's a triage tool that's really used to identify people who are the most vulnerable, to be able to move them indoors, because those are the people that are most likely literally to die on the streets without an intervention. Homelessness responds to strategic, wise investments. Homelessness is not an intractable, unsolvable problem. That simply isn't true. We know exactly what to do. What we need is we need the resources, and we kind of need all the barriers to get out of the way and let us get the job done.
Participate in the LA Public Library's Big Read Los Angeles. Learn about river rock structures at Rockitecture. Or enjoy the art of kites at the Community and Unity People's Kite Festival. All this up next on Things to Do.
Join the LA Public Library for Big Read Los Angeles. Designed by the National Endowment for the Arts, Big Read inspires conversation while broadening understanding of the world. Enjoy book discussions, writing workshops, and film screenings throughout LA Public Libraries and Department of Cultural Affairs sites. This year, Big Read focuses on a selection of books that tell the history of Chinese Americans in Los Angeles. Discussions include Charles Yu's novel, Interior Chinatown, the story of an actor doomed to play various generic Asian characters on screen. Jean Luen Yang's book, American-Born Chinese, is also featured as the Teen Big Read selection. Big Read Los Angeles continues in various locations through July. Log on to lapl.org/big-read for information on events in your area. The LA City Department of Rec and Parks invites you to Rockitecture at Bolton Hall Museum. Architect and author Barry Schweiger will break down the history of river rock structures built from 1885 to 1935 throughout Southern California. Nearly a decade of research went into uncovering these homes, churches, castles, and other structures. Unearth the history behind the architecture crafted from indigenous natural materials. Celebrate and pay tribute to the ancestors, native landscapes, and craftsmanship that has endured for generations. Don't miss Rockitecture at Bolton Hall Museum, Saturday, May 13th, starting at 1 p.m. Log on to boltonhall.org for more information. Join the Department of Cultural Affairs grantee Clock Shop for the 3rd Annual Community and Unity People's Kite Festival. This family-friendly cultural event brings together diverse communities in Los Angeles through the art of kites. Connect to important green space while learning new flying techniques from kite masters. While the kites create a gallery in the sky, you can participate in art-making workshops that explore the natural environment. Spend the afternoon mastering the skies in beautiful Los Angeles State Historic Park on Spring Street. The celebration is free and open to the public on Saturday, May 13th from 2 to 6 p.m. For more information, log on to clockshop.org. And that's a look at some things to do.
That's it for this edition. I'm Maria Hall-Brown. From all of us here at LA This Week, thank you so much for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.